So this is a book called The Negro Church, report of a social study made under the direction of Atlanta University, together with the proceedings of the Eighth Conference for the Study of the Negro Problems, held at Atlanta University. So it's 1903. This is just 1903 literature. Hmm. And just let's go through the table of contents before I get into it, because I'm not reading the whole book, but just to let you know, primitive Negro religion. So the scope of this book talks about our people and our religion prior to the indoctrination. You have a before and after effect. You have what the church did in this book and what people that were indoctrinated were doing before the church. Our people. You got sorcery, slavery, and Christianity. The Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. Right, we got the Methodists, Baptists, Presbyterian, Moravians, different sects. You got the brother Toussaint and Nat Turner. Um, Toussaint was a revolutionary. The missionary enterprise. What was the point of having these missionaries in our communities to have us go this direction? What was their purpose? So there's a couple things in the table of contents to show what the book's about. The Colored Methodists, the Zion Methodists, Negro churches from that 1900s to 1903, Southern whites and the Negro Church, the moral status of Negroes, the moral status of Negroes, right? So they go into the political status of once we got indoctrinated, that changed our status. And once again, I like when you're doing missionary work and uplifting acts, you got to go to books like this because some of our people just ain't gonna get it until they hear from somebody else. Our people love W.D. Du Bois. They gotta they gotta hear from somebody like that for their light bulb to go off. Other than that, they be like, "Oh, that's a Moorish author. They just pushing y'all agenda. It's not real." You know what I mean? So that's why I like cross referencing with this material. All right, we'll skip the preface. All right, so the Negro Church, a primitive Negro religion. So the prominent characteristic of primitive Negro religion is nature worship. So off top, they telling you before the person was called the Negro, we know they were Moors, but what were we into? Nature. One bullet point. With the accompanying strong belief of sorcery. So as I'm reading this book, I'm gonna rectify some things. They're gonna call it sorcery. They're gonna say some things are witchcraft. They're gonna say some things are voodoo. But just understand that when we're talking about this, they're gonna even say medicine man. But just understand when we're talking about this, we're talking about our people that understood how to work with the land, understood being in harmony with nature, and that was a culture amongst us. um, Colonizers would call that activity um, voodoo, witchcraft, etc. So there is a theistic tendency. Almost all tribes believe in some supreme God without always worshiping him. Generally, a heaven and rain God, sometimes as among the Cameroons and the Dahomey. Um, look up these. Everybody, I'm not gonna say everybody, but the Cameroons. These is different civilizations of our people. Dahomey, different civilizations of our people, and also the sun god. So if I'm talking to somebody that's interested in this space, a devout Christian, I will cross-reference information. All right, so this is called the Negro Church, but they're laying the foundation that before the Negro Church was placed on us, this is what our people was uh, consumed with. So look, the sun god. So I will give an example. Quetzalcoatl, feather serpent, sun god. Quetzalcoatl, the feather serpent, is a deity in Aztec culture and literature associated with winds, Venus. Oh, that star behind me, the star in our flag. Right. So I would tie correlations in on what I'm doing now. All right. And show why is Venus represented in the Moorish flag? All right. So we're talking about agriculture. We're talking about fertilization. We're talking about death and rebirth concepts. All right. So once again, Quetzalcoatl, the feather serpent, is a deity in Aztec culture and literature associated with wind, Venus, sun merchant, arts, craft, knowledge, and learning. He was also the patron god of the Aztec priesthood. Quetzalcoatl is a god of wisdom, learning, and intelligence. He is also a god of wisdom, learning. I read that. Quetzalcoatl's name, which means feather serpent, and keep in mind that's the bird in the middle in the Mexican flag. All right, so that's the origin of we're talking about the origin of the Mexican flag as well. Was derived from Nahuatl words for quetzal, bird, and cotl, meaning serpent. Unlike the newer gods of the Aztec pantheon, Quetzalcoatl shared his nickname with the feather serpent deities of the Quiche, the Maya, and Yucatec Maya, or today it's called the Yucatan. The feather serpent deity, common to much of Central America, first appeared in images, statues, and carvings starting around 100 BC. Quetzalcoatl's worship is wide-reaching, has a rich history, and exemplifies the complex world of the Aztec mythology. All right, so I just want to do a soft cross-reference. All right, so this is the world before the church, Negro Church. But the most widely spread worship among the Negroes and Negroids from the west to northeast and south to Lugano is that of the moon, combined with a great veneration of the cow. All right, so the moon and the sun, the temple of the moon and the sun, these are all the names of the pyramid complexes in Mexico, Central America, um, South America, Olmecs, Mayans, etc. Right? So were we actually worshiping the moon and the sun, or do we understand the energies that come from the moon and sun, the energies from the moon, the menstrual cycle of a woman, any fluid on the planet? We know that the moon governs that. It's like a magnet. Um, when it's a full moon, go to the beach, you see high tide, you see cats going crazy. Not going crazy, but they real alert. If you fast during this time of a full moon, you're gonna see that you got a lot of energy. You don't require as much sleep. So these were measuring sticks that our people understood. We would use these things to enhance ourselves. Um, and now the cow. The cow goes moo, and it represented fertility as well. So when we're looking at Venus, we're looking at the cow. Matter of fact, a lot of our people from Hindustan, they heavily still respect the cow to this day. And when you go back to the origin of why, we're going back to fertility. We're talking about cultivation and the harvest. You're going every time they depict the quote unquote Indian, they are indigenous people. They're gonna be like, oh, the cow and the harvest, and I mean the corn, and the corn represents the harvest, right? But before it's a harvest, the land got to be fertile. So the corn and the harvest is more of a effect. You got the cause and effect, right? Let me let some people in. We got the cause and effect. So the cause will be, like we said earlier, dealing with the land, leveling it out, fertilizing it, plant seeds. Matter of fact, the terms you reap what you sow, right? These are all things that come from you doing something first, and you're gonna reap the benefit, right? All right. So all this is what we were on before the classification of the Negro or being indoctrinated into the Negro Church. Who was doing this culture? Quasicodo, we saw the time frame was 100 BC. What was going on in 100 BC? Wasn't that the civilization of the Olmecs? Don't the Olmecs have fezzes on? So this is how I would talk to the people and kind of make correlations. um, all right, so let's continue here. I'm gonna talk to my GL. Peace and love. Islam. All right, so the slave trade so mingled and demoralized the west coast of Africa for 400 years that it is difficult today to find the definite remains of any great religious system. Ellis tells us that the spirit belief of the Omni people, they believe that men and all nature have the indwelling cry. And I don't know everybody's study background, but cry is short for the cry, or Christ, or the Christ. Um, Now we're talking about the activation of the pineal, um, the higher self, all right, and which is immortal. The man himself after death may exist as a ghost, which is often conceived as departed from the cry, a shadowy continuing of the man. So, so Bryce, speaking of the Kafirs of South Africa, a branch of the great Bantu tribe, says the Kafirs, as to the most savage races, they call our people savages. The world was full of spirits, of rivers, the mountains, and the woods. Most important were the ghosts of the dead, who had power to injure or help the living who were. Now they're going to speak from that perspective. We're just looking at it like our ancestors. For example, um, you know, my father, his grandfather, his grandfather, my mother, my grandmother, her grandmother, her mother, her grandmother, traditions, way of life, instilled information, DNA. So us as indigenous people, we honor our mothers and fathers, not in a spooky way, but we want to be in the realm of, old time religion or old time culture, to propel our efforts. Um, Us declaring our nationality, trying to unite people to be on the same page as a people to do great things is honoring your ancestors. Um, it may be specifically called uplifting acts or missionary work, but that's essentially where it's a piece to the puzzle of the whole, you know. But in books like this, they're gonna call it "We Worshiping Ghosts." They're gonna make it spooky. We just simply say we honoring our ancestors. You feel me? All right, so this type of dissecting literature I find key when speaking to people that are new to this space or want to know, oh, what are the morals about? Is it a religion? This is this. Make it basic as possible. Larry Bay, peace and love. All right. So Keep in mind, this book is called the Negro Church. We ain't even gotten to the church yet. We doing the background. We're doing background right now. So the people that would ultimately become Negro, we're doing background on what our culture was from a non-Moor. This is from W.D. Du Bois and the crew. These not Morris authors. All right, so let's continue here. Most important were the ghosts of the dead. So, so when I read Ghosts of the Dead, since I've already read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, I understand where they're coming from. We're talking about resurrection practices and um, even the Masonic circle, where they call it Haram Abeth. You know, you get raised to a 90 degree, you become perpendicular. That is not literal, like, that's more of a, you got baptized to the truth and you woke up to what's really going on. So you resurrected from a dead state of mind. Uh, your character, your morals is in line with your wake up, right? So that's where the whole noble come. Why is somebody called a noble, or what is the noble family? Like, it's based on how they moving, how they thinking, um, beneficiaryship, trusteeship, all wrapped into one. So this kind of worship, the worship once most generally diffused throughout the world, and which held its ground among the Greeks and Italians in the most flourishing period of ancient civilization, as it does in China and Japan today, was and is virtually the religion of the Kafirs. And that's simply our people, Moorish people. So basically, our customs, traditions, got preserved preserved by different cultures today, especially heavily in the East, what they call the Middle East. Pretty much everywhere else but North America, everybody's exercising a sense of culture more than we are. We're just simply a dead culture, our people. All right, so they preserved our ancient knowledge so we can get reminded of it, and that's the universal thing that the ebb and flow. We're not going to be on the bottom for a long time. And matter of fact, we only been on the bottom mentally, a dead state of mind, like 400 years or something like that. Prior, you keep going back. It was empire, empire this, empire. We got thousands, tens of thousands of years where we're organized amongst ourselves, understood our culture. This is a very short-lived period. It's all our life, but still, we blow it up when you're looking from the mountaintop, you're gonna see this is a small period of time that we've been in this condition. Um, so the supreme being of the Bantus is the dimly conceived Molimo, the unseen, who typifies vaguely the unknown powers of nature or the sky. Among some tribes, the worship of such higher spirits has banished fetishism and belief in witchcraft. But amongst most of the African tribes, the sudden and violent changes in government and social organization have tended to overthrow the larger religious conceptions and leave fetishism and witchcraft supreme. This is particularly true on the West Coast, among the spawn of slave traders. There can be no reasonable doubt, however, that the scattered remains of religious systems of Africa today among the Negro tribes are survivals of the religious ideas upon the Egyptian religion. All right, so they're going to tie the Negro to the Egyptians. So, and of course, we know Egyptian is still a misnomer. Um, we understand that this is Tamaray, which is the land of the Moors. But you have to talk to the people like you're talking to your niece or nephew or your son or daughter, and help them understand. No matter how repetition this information may be for us, the whole point is that everybody's not studied or they're not doing that. So we gotta do that, package things for our people. to help them see the light, right? So in this book, the Negro Church, we've yet to even get to the church part, is laying a foundation of who the Negro was before the indoctrination in the church. The early Christian church had a exarchate of 52 deceases. When you look up exarchate, that's like a bishop that was over a jurisdiction. The church and state was connected. The Even though they say it's a separation of church and state, we understand that it's always been the church controlling the state once they start getting into this space. But it might have been on the low, where the face, it looked like a king or king was running the show, but really the Pope or whatever is controlling the politics, right? But it probably seldom came in contact with the purely Negro tribes on account of Sahara. The hundreds of cc's of the Patriarch of Alexandria, on the other hand, embraced Libya, Ptolemy, Egypt, and Abyssinia, and had a large number of Negroid members. In Western Africa, after the voyage of da Gama, there were several kingdoms of Negroes nominally Catholic, and the church claimed several hundred thousands of communicants. These were on the slave coast and on the eastern coast. Mohammedanism entered Africa in the 7th and 8th centuries and has since that time conquered nearly all northern Africa, the Sudan, and made inroads into populations of the west coast. The introduction of Islam into Central and West Africa has been the most important, if not the sole preservation against the desolations of the slave trade. So they're letting you know Islam was a way of life that slowed down the colonization. It slowed down them trying to conquer, us tapping back in and fortifying. And that's what all these revolutions do. Anytime you hear about a revolution, I know most notably it's the Haitian Revolution, about El Yanga in Mexico, but there were like hundreds more that's not talked about. And the reason, so first of all, what happened? What was the purpose of the revolution, and what happened after the revolution? So the purpose of the revolution was to fight off colonization. What happened after was a Republican form of government was reestablished. In law, that's called reversion of a state. It happened in Cuba as well with the sugarcane and them kicking the United States out of there. That's the whole purpose of the active state doctrine. That principle in law called the active state doctrine is based on revolutionary activity from our people, specifically in Cuba, where we nationalized the land and the sugar and kicked all the United States businessmen that had thought they had interest, right? So all because of our people understood their culture before being colonized, and they used that to organize and unite. All right, so okay. Effects of transplanting. It ought not to be forgotten that each Negro slave brought to America during the 4 centuries of the African slave trade was taken from definite and long-form habits of social, political, and religious life. These ideas were not the highest measured by modern standard, but they were far from the lowest measured by the standards of primitive man. The unit of Africa tribal organization was the clan, or family of families.
Hell, motherfuckers, get in front of you and just slow down.
That road rage, Larry, man. That road rage, man.
Oh, man. Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. We human over here. We not holier than thou. I know that 110 and that 405 is crazy. I know. All right, so tribal organization was the clan or family or families ruled by patriarch or his strongest successor. These clans were united into tribes ruled by hereditary. What's hereditary? That's trust law, bloodline, heirs. All right, so or elected of chiefs. And some tribes were more or less loosely federated or confederation into kingdom. So different families came together and formed kingdoms, confederations, house, the house of this, right? The families were polygamous communic groups with one father and as many mothers as his welfare station permitted. Um, so if I'm talking with somebody, I would go into the polygamous thing a little more in depth because that will cause people to lose their mind in this society, like polygamy. So we went through multiple demonstrations where the polygamy um would typically be more on the woman's side, where the woman will have a bunch of men workers or helpers. Um, Nothing necessarily sexual. Might just be one sexual relationship, but everybody else was just helping, build to some degree. All right, so but of course in this book they're not going to get into the intricacies, so this is cross-referencing. With one father and as many mothers as his welfare station permitted, the family lived together in a cluster of homes, or sometimes a whole clan or village in a long, low apartment house. In such clans, the idea of private property was but imperfectly developed and never included land. All right, so we're about to get into that right now. So the land thing. The main mass of visible wealth belonged to the family and clan rather than the individual. Only in matter of weapons and ornaments was exclusive private ownership generally recognized. So we wasn't selling land. We was getting it. It wasn't owned by one person. It was owned by who? The clan. So that's trust law. Oh, who owns this land? Oh, the House of Saudi, the House of Osman or Osman, the House of, right? It was dynasties and clans that owned the land. So that means the people. So the land was owned under a republic form of government. Why we speak? What book is this again? The Negro Church. This author is laying the foundation of how our lifestyle, our way of life was prior to the Negro Church or being indoctrinated. See, these portions of this book's gonna get into after the church and what during the church. I'm just going into before and letting you know that it's not a secret. Tons of books that are going to this. Are we talking about picking cotton right now? Are we talking about any of that stuff? No. Talking about dynasties, empires, kingdoms, houses, tribes, chiefs, sun god, moon god, and then we putting context behind the sun and moon god and all that stuff, right? All right, so the government vested in fathers and chiefs. When you hear the term vested, that means it's a trustee. It's vested. The people, the general people. In this case, we're talking about the fathers and chiefs, but when you read the Iroquois Confederation Constitution, which we've read multiple times, you're gonna see who appointed these chiefs. Matriarchal mothers, elder clan mothers appointed the chiefs. Then the chiefs became the trustees, right? So they're not gonna get into all that in this book, but it's up to us as study Moors to cross-reference for the people and make it simple. All right. The Negro Church. The resemblance of the primary assemblies of the early people of Europe is close enough to add another to arguments which discredit the theory that there is any such thing to an Aryan type of institution. So in this book, the Negro Church, they're telling you all that white supremacy or Aryan, and like I ain't gonna assume, but most of us should know that Aryan they stole that too, just like they stole the the swastika. Not stole it, but they misrepresented the swastika and what Aryan really is. But on a surface level, people gonna think Aryan as blonde hair, blue eyed people. That's how people been taught, right? So in this book, they're talking from that perspective, like, oh, if if these people that come from, melanated people that are called Negro today, that came from these tribes and houses, they were in Europe too, and that was the foundation of Europe. So it's demystifying this Aryan type of incident, right? That's what's being said. They're letting you know that as well. All right. And administrating justice and protecting women, these governments were as effective as most primitive organizations. So that was what we were about, protecting the women and children as a motto, because we knew that led to the beneficiary. It's nothing, no beneficiaries of no women. The power of religion was represented by the priest or medicine man, aided by an unfaltered faith, natural sharpness, and some rude knowledge of medicine. So we knew how to deal with the land. We know what herbs to grow, when to grow them, what they did for the body. You're going to see that's later called voodoo. That's later called witchcraft. We was later getting tarred, our women was getting tarred and feathered for knowing this information. Great book burning, Salem, all these things will come. All right, so, and supported by vague sanction of half-seen world, people by spirits, good and evil, the African priests wielded a power second only to that of the chief, and often superior to it. In some tribes, the African priesthood was organized, and something like systematic religious institutions emerged. But the central fact of African life, political, social, and religious, is its failure to integrate, to unite, and systemize itself in some conquering whole, which would dominate the wayward parts. So originally we had high priests, we had chiefs. See, most of the chiefs they make look primitive, but the chiefs were like a prince or next up to be a sultan or worked under the sultan. Um, was the head of a house. It's not just half naked, got a spear in his hand, feather. Way more elaborate than that. But later, the religion was not, it was separated, whereas now you're religious and you're not, like today, like how the Moors is, some Moors is religious and some Moors is civic. That's what ended up happening on a bigger scale, which allowed the colonists to come in and they would take aspects of our culture and turn it into what they do today in the church. So we're talking about Jesus, we still talking about the Son. So they knew that we honored the sun and the moon, but they just repackaged it so they can control us. This is what this book is leading into. I'm just reading the precursors of it. So I'm not gonna get into the whole book today, obviously, but the Negro Church is an excellent book. Um, this is the central problem of civilization. And while there have arisen from time to time in Africa conquering kingdoms and some consolidation of power and religion, it has been continually overthrown before it was strong enough to maintain its independency and maintain itself independently. All right, so some areas of our people, we were able to do the revolution thing and have our stuff back, but other pockets, there wasn't a revolution. Our people just fell victim to the okie doke. Um, our religion was fed back to us, but remixed. took us away and made us more passive. What have been the causes of this? They have been threefold: the physical peculiarities of Africa, the character of external conquests, and the slave trade. The heart disease of Africa. The physical peculiarities of the land shut out largely the influence of foreign civilization and religion and made human organization a difficult fight for survival against the heat and disease. Foreign conquests took form of sudden incursions, causing vast migrations and uprooting institutions and beliefs, or of colonizations of strong, hostile, and alien races. All right, so the uprooting, that's what we hear about the Trail of Tears. That was one of the biggest uprootings in America, where they scattered us all over the place. So these are tactics on why we couldn't really unite. And what was the purpose of the Trail of Tears? So we wouldn't start these revolutions, so we wouldn't be familiar with the terrain, right? Um, this is only 2 pages of this book, but based on background study, look how much information we're able to talk about. All right, so that's why a lot of the elders say law and history go together, because once you know law and history, you can go to any books like these, even if they're not as precise. It's precise, but it's like they're like it's vague. So you gotta take the vagueness out and get specific for the people. Lots of books like this. Um, mm, I think this is oh, here we go. That's what I. So the African system was a complete protection for girls and strong protection for wives against everything but the tyranny of the husband. The plantation polygamy left the chastity of Negro women absolutely unprotected in law and practically little guarded in custom. So what ended up happening is, and you kind of see that in the Jim Crow laws and the what's the other one? The Jim Crow. I think it was Jim Crow, but they would separate the men and women, play the skin tone games, and then they'll take the mind of the father to have the mind of the colonists. So you go from, as we read in the earlier paragraph, women are being protected, children are being protected because we know that was the beneficiary. As the slow colonization came, our own men would have the mind of the colonists. So now, like how you see the Middle Eastern community, how they women be all covered up, they gotta look down. That type of space, no value. But first, we were doing it to our own women before it got full fledged to what it is. Conditioned, these are slow little tactics, and then they offer to make our people rich to to persuade them to keep this activity going on. And now you have a sellout culture. Then later the boule, right, to keep these things going. Little societies of sellouts. Um, so the number of wives of a West India slave was limited chiefly by his lust and cunning. The black females, were they wives or growing girls, were the legitimate prey of the men. And on this system, there was one and only one safeguard: the character of the master of the plantation. Where the master was himself lewd and avaricious, the degradation of the women was complete. So the slave master was working hand in hand with the men of us, right, the sellouts, to implement this. And I think this was Jim Crow. It was one other one, but it's actually like a constitutionally laid out, like Article 1, Article 2. And it talked about how to get us to the state we basically ultimately in today. But back then, we're talking about 1700s. It wasn't quite automatically like this. So there was a bunch of systems in place to try to get it like that. Um, so I wanted to share this book called The Negro Church.
Letter or something like that, some kind of letter from Jim Crow letter or something. Something I know what you're talking about too.
Oh, no, no, the Willie Lynch manual. That's what I'm thinking of.
The manual from the Willie Lynch manual, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was read in Virginia, not far from where I live in a place called the James River. That was read right in Virginia, in the area in which my domicile is at currently. And I yield.
Islam. Hmm.
They've been applying that slave man that tactic of instilling inferiority slave tactic, and it's been working on us for the most part.
Hmm. Yeah, because if they can get us to do the bidding for them, it's easier. Because our people gonna look at like it's kind of like when Obama became president. Like everybody was like, "Oh, we got a melanated president." Time is changing, and that caused us to put our guard down. Well, we don't got that revolutionary spirit no more. Because let's face it, we are the majority. If we just unite, it's over. There's nothing really that they can do outside of sin, traitors amongst us, and kind of flip our solidarity where we split, arguing about stuff that don't matter. So but yeah, the Negro Church, this book right here is very eye opening, and a lot of our people are Christian in North America. So I like our people to see stuff like this because they'll look at Christianity in a different lens. Of course, we know early Christianity wasn't like this because we know Christianity is the Christ, so we were Christians in that sense, but how they package it with the whole Jesus, blind or blue eye, how they're reading the Bible right now, they need to know that that was a political tool to destabilize us. Christian black codes, Christian book burnings, um, all the papal papal bulls from the Pope. This book goes hand in hand with that. But the reason I like this one because they give a little background information before that, which I love books like that show what we were doing before. That's the same thing like right here with Noble Joe Ali, um, in the Constitution and bylaws. He's saying the names Negro, colored, black people, Ethiopian were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779. But before that, this paradigm didn't exist. There was no black, Negro, colored, right? So it's the same thing when you start. Well, who the people that were slaves or considered slaves? What were they before 1779? Landowners, prince, sultan from some type of house, some type of clan that go back time immemorial, that trace back to the Mayans or Olmecs. So these people getting hung that we saw in school, K through 12, people getting hung. picking cotton. These people were emirs, chiefs, part of organized government, oil barons. I ain't gonna use the term baron, but we were owners, knew how to deal with the land, wasn't imported here from nowhere, right? So a lot of our people be like, we came from Africa. So you saying slavery didn't happen? You're saying we're indigenous to here. This is the big thing I get. So we've been here. So you're saying none of us got shipped here from Africa? You're saying Africa not the motherland? All civilization come from Africa. They come from us, right? So you would have to take that and with a scholarly approach and let them know that once again, Africa just means land, right? These repetitious things. This is Africa. You're right. We all did come from the land, but the oldest civilizations in the world are on Northwest Africa, which today correspond to the Americas. The whole world is being colonized, so that side of Africa, Southeast, you look up the Berlin Conference, you're gonna start seeing that's how that side of Africa or Mexico got colonized by the British. Um, that's why a lot of when you go over there, there's Europeans running the show in like most of those countries over there. There's a select few that have a republic form. Even what's the guy? I forgot. I can never pronounce his name. That linked up with Russia. What's his name? Fata. I can never pronounce his name, man. But right now, it's a brother that's he's looked at as a tyrant in America. What's his name? Fata Soul? Fata something. Somebody know. Nobody knows his name. Who I'm talking about in the chat? How you pronounce his name, man? I can never get his name right. But basically,
Pronouncing that, but I know you're talking about.
yeah. But he linked. So
I think it's Burkina Faso or something like that.
yeah. Him. Look what he going through. Just the same reason how they killed Gaddafi with all these traitors, because there was a bunch of traitors around him. He's insulated by all these melanated, they're not even republics, but people that look like him. But he was able to get infiltrated. Same, so that's why he had to link up with Russia. The guy I'm talking about right now, he had to get an alliance with I think Russia and China. There's been attempts on his life multiple times, and you think, oh, he's over there in Africa, and everybody look like I thought Africa was supposed to be all of our people and all that. Like, but that shows you the politics. When you look at it from a more intricate lens, you're gonna start seeing a lot of our people are traders still to this day, and working with the EU or the European Union. But Russia's not part of that. Russia's not part of the EU. So now you see why he had to get an alliance with them to just continue to exist.
Right. That's why our movement has global implications, and we have to be mindful of that. Because at the end of the day, everybody is posturing themselves on the planet for future conditions and everything, because the Western world depended on other indigenous lands to even sustain itself for so long. So now it's trying to branch out globalization. This is their globalization agenda. And we have to be mindful that we have an agenda in that respect too, from the perspective of Moors.
Yeah. Yeah, Islam. And back to Noble Joe Ali when he said we need genius citizens and things of that nature. Competency, knowing how to do stuff. Like once again, we talked about the land we went to yesterday. It puts you in a mind state of dealing with the land, knowing that your neighbor is your brother or sister, they're gonna protect you. Security minded is being more on security is more apparent when you're living in these areas. A lot more people are implementing the Second Amendment protocols. Um, because when you're looking at the Second Amendment, a lot of people don't read the whole thing. Matter of fact, let's bring it up right now. I want to make a point. What does the Second Amendment say in totality? It's not just the bare arm. That's not what it is. So the Second Amendment states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. So what is a state? That's plural. That's the people. You have a right to protect the people. Are you organized in such a way that you're protecting women and children, business and business enterprises, estate? Is that why you're bearing arms? Or are you just one person just running around here talking about I don't need a license to carry? Right? So if you're part of a community, you have a right to protect that estate. Right? So why am I bringing that up? It's because right now, when you go to unincorporated areas, you have people right now that are protecting their estate an hour away from the inner city. This is the lifestyle people are living, right? And they're enforcing their Second Amendment because there ain't no sheriffs over there. There's no police coming down the block every 30 minutes when you're living in these conditions. You gotta protect yourself from just people, random people that have an unsound mind as a collective. So everybody's not ready for that. Ready for that type of lifestyle. So back to the ward of the state thing, back to rights of indigenous people. What is self-governance? Why is that Article 1 of the rights of indigenous people? Self-governance. It's either other laws that talk about that's the first prerequisite, or do you have the ability to do that? Other than that, you're gonna be looked at as a ward. But yeah, we went out there yesterday, and back to me getting stuck in the sand, and having the fortitude to dig it out, dig the sand out of the wheels, and get up out of there. Different neighbors running to their compound, grabbing shovels to assist. That was a Mexican brother. Uh, and he was just giving us a background of how people living, their mentality. And it's different. It's different, growing your own crops and vegetables, constructing your own buildings, protecting it. Even the way you own the property. Is it in trust? So this is very practical, very doable. Just takes inspired people to do it. It's being done. West Coast to the East Coast, all these states in the middle, quote unquote states in the middle, Idaho, Nebraska. Anybody that travel anywhere, they're gonna see it's more land that's undeveloped or unincorporated than it is city. The city life is like maybe 10%. Everything else is not even touched. It's just people are used to the convenience. Somebody, if I say something,
People scared to try it.
people scared to try it, and that's because of conditioning of the matrix.
That's how we perpetuate our own subjugation because we don't want to take our own responsibility in our own hands. A lot of times we're hesitant to do it because we're so complacent.
Mm-hmm. Complacent, uninspired, just don't know how, don't know where to start, don't know people we can link up with to get it started, get the ball rolling. Right. So,
Right. That should be the national conversation, bro. How we can just be self-sustainable, self-reliant. That should be the national conversation, and until we can get to that level where we even have just the apparatus, just the infrastructure to actually say that we're separate. We can be separate from this. We're under subjugation, bro.
mhm, yeah. And we understand it's not going to happen overnight, but as we dive more into it, you see it's not impossible either.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's something that can happen in like 2 years flat.
Right.
And it don't take thousands of people.
It's not as hard as you think it is when you just go on a camping trip with your family. Now you multiply that trip. You bring extra food and extra water and extra power for you to run your phone or whatever. And there you go. That's all you're doing. It's a constant multiplication of your camping. So you're doing it already. Just got to put your mind more into it. It's
Mhm.
just that simple. It's a camping trip. You have to bring your own stuff when you go camping, right? Same
Right.
thing.
Hmm. Real practical. And
Yeah.
it's just being exposed to it too.
Yeah.
Because even for myself, I didn't, like I say, it's eye opening. You gotta go there, boots on the ground, and just see how people living. That's and you see, oh man, this is happening. You step outside the matrix, you see how people living, and people, we didn't got bougie. Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
primitive. That's a primitive way of life. Hell no, I can't do that.
It's perfect. In the daytime, especially in California, it gets warm, so you don't need heat because you're out. It's nice weather. In the nighttime, daytime, you gather your firewood. In the nighttime, you got your fire, and you're just as warm as you are in the daytime and the nighttime. It's just a matter of preparing for it. You don't have to be
Right.
cold if you're prepared for it, right?
Hmm.
And we start applying energy efficiency tactics and start being mindful of that things may be scarcity, even though it's abundancy, but some things may be scarce and we have to manage it properly.
Hmm. Manage it. Yeah, that's the whole organization amongst the people, amongst us. You know, or, organization is key for all the reasons we're talking about. You know, but it's going to happen. That's the moral to the story is that it's going to happen. It will happen. Um, we're trying to get some land in less than a month. That's where I'm at with it. I'm trying to get that going because people doing it. It don't make no sense. People do it. It's like, come on, But you know how I go. People got to see a demonstration first. People got
Got
to
to get
see,
out of the comfort zone, right?
yeah, you know how I go. But that's what we're here for.
Life is beautiful to be able to live out. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
See the stars at night. It's beautiful.
yeah, Roland, you've been doing this for what, about 15 years?
Yeah, many years. I was even infantry in the military. I stayed in the woods, in the jungles. I've been doing it my whole life, living outside. I love it.
Yeah, it's a desensitized too. We've been desensitized. We scared of animals, we scared of insects, we scared of all type of stuff. So we wouldn't dare live in the
Your
right.
friend learn
Yeah,
from that. No?
yeah.
Like you said, bourgeois.
Bourgeois.
Uh-huh. But yeah, just being around it, you'll be more acclimated to it. Because it was a time in my life where I was scared of dogs as a youth, and now I'm not scared of dogs. It's just gotta
Yeah.
be gotta be around them more.
Um,
Horses,
that's it. Just got to be around them.
gotta be around it.
And these animals protect you too once you be around them.
Hmm.
They protect you and they give you warning and signals and things.
Oh yeah, that's part of the security.
Yeah. You don't have to use dogs. You can use geese. Geese are very good securities.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm glad y'all bringing that up because that's what I saw um in person was most people got like some pit bulls or some um something like that to protect the land as well. You know, so yeah, the animals. And think about it too. All these paintings we seen with us next to walking tigers and all that, we really lost our way. You know, I've seen multiple like the Golden Age of the Moor book. There's so many pictures showing us next to like tigers and lions, and we dealing with them like they just regular cats.
Right,
You feel
right,
me? Like
right. No, you're right.
we on
Yeah,
camels.
And it's a vibration.
right, right.
Mhm.
We disconnected from it being in the city and stuff.
Mhm.
See, man, it's blocking the vibrations.
Mhm. Yeah, but yeah, hmm, even the vibration, yeah, just it's a different vibration with all that land around you. Your thought process, something just happened different to you. It's not all this cement and metal and
Yeah, you're more attuned to what's going on around you too, right?
mhm, yeah. But yeah, so I just had a light demonstration today. Um, any thoughts on what was spoke on today in the chat or any level?
Can you
Shaolin
send me
Bay.
that Adobe thing you was talking about last time? I want to look at some of those,
Okay, yeah, yeah. I'll send you the link to that. I'll send you the link
please.
to that. Uh,
Islam Street. I was wondering. Remember when you did the demonstration on the federal names of the different indigenous tribes and how they were associated with the Moors? You remember you was showing us a screenshot of that?
oh, the CDC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I need a copy of that if possible.
Okay, I'll send you the link.
Yeah. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Yeah, yeah. CDC website talking about how all the pretty much anybody that's tag Indian is a Moor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what I finna say? Oh yeah, Shaolin Bay. Yeah, Shaolin Bay. Peace and love, man. How you been, man?
Peace and love, Mafi. I've been doing good, man. Just trying to get my life together, and just living. How are you?
Same, same here, man. Trying to piece it together. Um, yeah, man. I can't complain. Feel like there's a lot of. I'm optimistic about a lot of things that's taking place. So yeah, yeah, man. Um, yeah, the last 2, 3 months I've been in this pre-apprenticeship program. Then it led me to go into the union, and now I'm in the construction industry, specifically doing lead abatement. But I like the structure of it because I feel like it's going to assist what we're trying to do here. Um, I work with a different apprentice on different levels. I'm a first stage apprentice. Um, you're an apprentice until you become a journeyman. A journeyman is, you adept in that field. So it's been an interesting road that I've been on, but I like it. I like it. Before I was doing this, I was doing more pop-ups and, selling merch and stuff like that, in person. So it was a little different shift, but I like it. I see the potential in it, but yeah, that's pretty much been my thing. I know that we have a baby shower in June next month. Getting ready for that. Yeah, anybody in Cali, um, who hasn't got the link, just let me know if they want to pull up to that, so y'all can RSVP. But yeah, it's been in land mode, as well. That hasn't stopped. So one thing led to another to get us to this point. So now I know I haven't spoke with you in a couple of weeks, but we're getting closer to this land situation. Um, and also, it was funny. We drove through Sun Village yesterday, and we went to the Sun Village Chamber of Commerce. And I'm like, man, I'm the councilman. I'm the councilman out there. So that's another thing of our plan is trying to use our credentials out there to like build a headquarters of such, because I think it's like only 11,000 people that even live in that town. So it's up for grabs in the sense of establishing politics for people. You see it all. You see it every day around you. We're just so scattered. But you know how area become Little Lebanon or Little Saigon or whatever. We can do that for the Moors right now. That's my motivation too, is to get that going for us before it starts getting populated. It hasn't become a municipality yet, so that's why I want to get something going within the next 2 years, where we're kind of, it's a town, it's a Moorish town. We got resources for the people. We got a system of, we can provide housing. We got fruits and vegetables. So, but yeah, that's my long answer to your question, Shaolin Bay. It's pretty much where we've been at. Um, Brother Hassan, how you been, man? How's everything going? So,
Everything good, Grand Sheik.